Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez cuts a pretty lonely figure on the European stage, as really the only remaining left-wing leader of a major EU country. In office since 2018, and only having scraped through at the last election in 2023, he faces some pretty tough political headwinds at home. But in recent months, he's emerged as perhaps Europe's most visible leader, thanks to his willingness to challenge the United States and Donald Trump. Europe seems to be taking note. So in this video, we're going to take a look at how Sánchez became something of a European trendsetter, what it means for Spanish domestic politics, and Sánchez's chances of pulling off another shock victory at next year's election. If you love staying informed and want some of the best reporting on YouTube, then subscribe and ring the bell for more. So, let's begin by exploring Pedro Sánchez's international activity and his impact on European politics. Now, the Iran war is the most obvious example of Sánchez leading the way in Europe, and we'll come on to it in a moment. But it's not the only example. For instance, Sánchez has been perhaps Europe's most vociferous critic of Israel for its assault on Gaza. While many other European leaders vacillated and equivocated on the issue before eventually taking a harder stance, in 2024, Spain, alongside other smaller European nations, Ireland, Norway and Slovenia, recognized the state of Palestine. The following year, a whole load more Western countries, including France, the UK, Canada and Australia, recognized Palestine. This second wave was admittedly a French-led effort, but Sánchez was clearly ahead of the game here. When it comes to Europe's approach towards China, Sánchez's Spain has also been the forerunner. Over the past few years, Sánchez has been trying to drum up Chinese investment, boost Spain's ties to China, and push the EU to take a more cooperative approach towards the country. With Trump returning to office at the beginning of 2025, and soon roiling global trade with tariffs, Sánchez continued making the case for warming EU-China ties to counter Trump's tariffs and expand European economic opportunity amid the turmoil. And in April 2025, he became the first European leader to make an official visit to China since Trump's tariff escalations. In early 2026, amid heightened tensions in the transatlantic relationship over Greenland, European and other Western leaders flocked to China seeking trade and investment deals and greater bilateral cooperation in certain areas. Among these leaders were Canada's Mark Carney, Germany's Friedrich Merz, the UK's Keir Starmer, Ireland's Michael Martin, and Finland's Petteri Orpo, whose wave of visits signalled a shift in their mindset to something closer to Sánchez's position. Sánchez himself is back in China again this week for his fourth visit in as many years. And then, of course, there's Iran too. Right from the beginning of the war, Sánchez was the sole EU leader to directly condemn the US-Israeli attack on Iran as illegal, and his government banned the US from using the Rota and Moron joint military bases in the war, prompting embargo threats from Trump. Sánchez was an outlier, as other European leaders either backed Trump or cautiously tried to distance themselves from the war without directly criticizing him. However, over time, the broad European mood has moved in the direction of Sánchez, who's received a reputational boost for his unequivocal anti-war position. Now, as a separate point, we should make clear that Europe is not following his lead in every area. For instance, Sánchez really remains a European outlier on his championing of migration, a position that other leaders and the EU itself are going in the opposite direction on. Nevertheless, what impact is all of this international activity having on domestic Spanish politics? Well, it's worth remembering that Sánchez and his Spanish Socialist Workers' Party, or PSOE, have not been in a strong position for quite some time. In fact, in his 8 years in office, Sánchez has never governed with a parliamentary majority, even in a coalition. Despite coming second to the Conservative People's Party at the 2023 snap election, Sánchez managed to form a minority coalition featuring his PSOE and the left-wing Sumar bloc by cobbling together just enough parliamentary support from other smaller parties, including Catalan and Basque nationalists, to make him Prime Minister once again. Since then, PSOE and Sumar's polling has steadily declined. A string of corruption scandals in his ruling party, inner circle, and family have badly damaged his position, to the point that he publicly considered resigning in 2024. Concessions made to keep Catalan nationalists on side have also gone down poorly in other quarters. However, his foreign policy positions, most notably on the US, Israel, and Iran, have been popular at home. A Cluster 17 poll in March found that 70% of Spaniards disapprove of the US-Israeli war against Iran, and the same poll found that 51% of Spaniards view the US as a threat. This means on these issues, Sanchez has been much more in tune with the country than his opponents, like the strongly pro-Trump Vox and the People's Party, whose leaders' comments on the war have become markedly less supportive as time goes on. Add some domestic policy wins into the mix, like Eurozone beating economic growth and exceeding 22 million social security contributors for the first time, and things actually start to look relatively rosier for Sanchez. There's even been the beginning of an uptick in the polls for the PSOE, closing the gap with the People's Party, while third-place Vox's rise has slowed. It's still obviously very early days, and we're talking about only a handful of polls, but it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect these trends to continue further. After all, there are an increasing number of examples from around the world of ruling centre-left parties, from Canada, Norway to Australia, benefiting from Trump's presence in the White House. However, as the recent Danish election showed, two things can be true at once. Confrontation with Trump can give you a bump in support, but at the same time, domestic issues are more likely to dominate any election campaign. So while standing up to Trump may give Sanchez some momentum, progress on things like the housing crisis, one of the most pressing issues for Spaniards, is also essential. The next election is not due until August 2027, but it could come sooner if Sanchez succumbs to pressure or decides to take another big gamble. To be clear though, current polling still points to a People's Party and Vox right-wing majority, which would oust Sanchez and shift the Spanish government dramatically rightwards. So the PSOE's current polling uptick is far from enough to stay in power. And some factors are just out of Sanchez's hands, with parties to his left, like coalition party Suma and opposition Podemos, languishing in the polls. Sanchez needs the fractious Spanish left to come together and form a united front if his government is going to survive another election. Now, with stories like these filling the headlines, it's easy to be swept up in huge geopolitical and national security issues, and you might find yourself neglecting your own personal security. Your email is often overlooked when it comes to security, as you might think a couple of spam emails can't possibly be that harmful, but did you ever think about why your inbox is suddenly full of emails you don't want? Well, that's because those big tech companies that are responsible for your emails aren't built to protect your inbox. They're built to sell your data. Thankfully, Proton Mail has your back. That's because Proton Mail offers one of a few genuine tools that protect users' personal information from being monetized or misused by those tech giants. They encrypt your emails, prevent surveillance from bad actors, and give you back control over your own communications. Proton has even made it easy for you to switch over from your old cluttered email with a tool that will make this possible to achieve in just a few clicks. Or you can just start fresh with a new email account and a clean mailbox from the beginning. But that's not all. They also offer a unique generational reset for you and your family. In today's society, even those born with complete anonymity can only stay private for so long. Children are now funneled into major tech ecosystems through school tools and apps that require specific accounts. And as soon as a child opens up a basic email account, their basic privacy is being compromised, and big tech will instantly start to build an advertising profile without them even knowing. Thankfully, Proton Mail's Born Private campaign has an answer to that exact problem, as it offers you an opportunity to easily reserve an account for your child. You have the potential to protect their digital identity before profiling and tracking starts. So if you want to take back your own privacy or protect the future privacy of your family, start using Proton Mail for free using our link at proton.me/bp/TLDR, and you'll be one step closer to a fully protected online experience, free from data exploitation.